Welcome to the microphone and the cameras this morning. Jeff Cousins, small business owner here in Grand Rapids from Craft Business Systems and also very active in Republican politics. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Michael. How are you?
Good. I thought we would run through a couple of news stories here this morning just to kind of get your reaction.
Sure.
Because when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you want is to be hit in the face with a whole bunch of cold water news, don't you?
Absolutely. That makes the whole day start off a lot better than it does.
The poverty rate in the United States last year was the highest it's been since 1994. Your reaction?
Not a shock at all. A little disappointed, but sure not shocked. And we sure haven't done much in the last few years to address, the core issue of that, and that's creating more jobs.
We hear a lot of talk from the candidates about creating jobs. Can politicians really create jobs? You're a small business owner. You hire and fire and grow and shrink.
I think Verge thinks we can. I mean, isn't he bragging up in Lansing? He's created 6,000 jobs. I'm just curious how he's done that. I prefer they just get out of our way and make it a little bit easier for us, so that we can, make investment back in people versus just kind of panicking and wondering what's going to happen next. I mean, we've got taxes that have doubled. My business tax doubled. It was supposed to go down, and it didn't. The Obama administration thinks that the 2%, I love the 2% story now. Instead of 250, now it's just 2%. 2% of the richest people in the world. So, and they sure don't like to explain the impact that will have on small businesses.
This is the extension of the Bush tax cuts that you're talking
Yes,
about.
sir.
And the word is that the Republicans want the extension of the cuts for everyone. Democrats say we can't afford it. So if you make $200,000 or more, you're going to be left behind. You're going to get essentially a tax increase. Or if you're a couple that combines to make $250,000 or more, you're going to be left out in the cold too. You're going to experience a tax increase. What you're saying is they're shifting the way that they say that so that people think only 2% are going to get the tax increase.
Yeah, Michael, and what's really frustrating about it is that there's no, the Obama administration now has done what? They've reduced taxes. They've now literally for the last, most of this year, for the last 8 months, have literally been bragging about what the tax reductions and the influence of the money back in the economy has done. And we've done that for 22 years, and we were told there was trickle-down economics. It's a very frustrating thing, one, to create a class warfare that we've created, and that's what you do when you're trying to pigeonhole a group of people that make money. From a small business perspective, it's hard to educate, an employee or employees that are out there to understand it's not difficult for a small business to accumulate $250,000, but it doesn't mean that they have that money to spend. And so with the tax ramifications, with the alternative minimum tax that's already there, they just make it more and more difficult for people to want to go back and reinvest. And that's what this whole country is based on is, creating a system that you can invest money, reap some of the benefits, and then hopefully have some, the moral responsibility to invest it back in your community and in people.
How many employees do you have at Craft Business Systems?
25.
Do you provide health care insurance for
Yes,
them?
sir.
Is that your biggest expense?
No, honestly. I mean, my biggest expense is people, rents, but payroll, or unfortunately, sorry, Jeff, but healthcare is a big burden, unfortunately, that we do have to carry. But we, like most small businesses, do carry that burden, have carried that burden, have never tried to shy away from that burden. So, yeah, healthcare is a big cost, no question.
Are you concerned about or relieved by the national healthcare reform as a small business owner?
I don't think we did anything for insurance reform. I think it was a political posturing, and I don't think really anything was addressed or solved by the issue other than to make some politicians feel good about themselves.
Well, let's ask an expert who is with us here in our studio here at Devos Place at the West Michigan Policy Conference, Jeff Connelly, President of West Michigan Operations for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
We're at it early this morning.
And that's a great looking jacket you have on today.
Thank you very much. You live in Traverse City, where there's some people say there's a bit of an economic bubble in the state of Michigan. Things are good in Traverse City, are they?
Reasonably better than other areas. I wouldn't say good, but
Yeah.
It's not as bad as. And that's, Jeff, you're absolutely right. That's where we are in the state of Michigan. It's if you're not bad, you're better than somewhere else. That's a relative comparative that we're at.
What about the fact of the matter is at Blue Cross Blue Shield, you don't have time to sit around and debate the healthcare reform. You have to start enacting it almost immediately, as I understand. So how do you handle that hot potato, and how's it been going so far?
Well, our position is healthcare reform is here to stay. So we're not going to change it. So we do have an opportunity to make the best of it throughout the next 2 to 3 years before it's fully enacted. And I think Jeff was right. It wasn't really about the cost changing and changing the cost curve.
Mm-hmm.
It was more about access to care. So we're not addressing what we need to address. So there's nothing that government is going to fix for us. But if we don't start fixing it now, they're going to try to fix it for us later, and it's not going to be better. It's going to be worse.
Well, one of the first things that is implemented, as I understand it, is now, for instance, students can be on their parents' insurance until age 26. That starts almost immediately, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, effective this fall, but many plans adopted it back when we passed the legislation in the spring.
And some of the reforms, if you want to call them that, that we're seeing in this healthcare situation. Jenny, we're on TV right now, if you don't mind. Sorry. Is the fact that Blue Cross Blue Shield was doing some of these things already before the national healthcare reform came in. So in some sense, you're almost a test case, are you not?
Yeah,
national.
We think we've been doing things like guaranteed issue, like not turning people away. Okay, nonprofit, so not making money off of healthcare. So we've been doing that for the legacy of Blue Cross. We're proud of it. Those are steps that we feel where everybody has a level playing field is going to help the situation. But there are many variables out there that we need to consider, and frankly, the government doesn't know how to fill the holes in yet. So, the document was 2,600 pages long. Try to figure that one out.
That's a nice beach reading in the summertime, and it came at you relatively quickly too, didn't it?
It did. We knew something was coming. We didn't know to the extent of what happened. They want a single payer system. They didn't pass that, but when you read through between the lines, that's effectively what they're trying to get.
I know that Mr. Lepp was with President Obama earlier this summer at the White House there, the chairman of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan and CEO. Has the White House been a good listener, as far as you can tell, when it comes to those in the field who actually implement this?
Well, I wasn't in the room.
Yep.
But the read that we're getting back is they're listening a little bit, but certainly articulating more than what they're listening. So the expectation is that we move. Yeah, Jeff,
I feel bad for Jeff because I'm sure he has to be pretty politically correct in what he says because he has to deal with them. But I think it's a pretty arrogant White House. I mean, there's absolutely no question. They think they're smarter than we are. They're smarter than the industry. They're smarter than the businesses, and they sure act like they're smarter than the American people. So do they listen? I think it's, every single event that goes on there that you hear somebody from the administration coming out saying how wrong those people are. I've never heard that in my life. I mean, a million people can't be wrong. They're standing outside the Capitol.
President Obama, though, was elected on the idea of change and hope. Those were the two things that I think he talked about the most, change and hope. And not long after he was elected, he started implementing changes, and everybody said, wait a minute, hold on a second, that's not what I bargained for. Where's the disconnect?
Well, the disconnect is that I think, if anybody pays attention to politics, I don't think it was a surprise to those who pay attention to it at all. I think the reality of it is he got there on the backs of a lot of people that decided he was going to be president, just like our governor got there on the backs of, the Bob McNamara's of the world that said she's going to be governor, and they laid out a map, and she won, and now we're stuck with some of the policies and stuff that she's implemented as well. So I don't think it's a shock that he's there. I don't think it's a shock, when he got there that he was going to be beholden to groups, that helped him get there. And he sure enough has shown that getting reelected seems to be more important than doing the things that he actually said.
One of the things that Republicans talk a great deal about is personal responsibility. Yeah. And one of the things it seems to me that Blue Cross Blue Shield is trying to help people do is take a little more of an active role in their healthcare situation. You're trying to educate and inform people and get them more active rather than just showing up with a card, realizing that it's a healthcare company, not just a health insurance company. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. We fully believe that, and again, whether it's healthcare reform, really the economic situation, more accountability needs to be placed on individuals. We need to step back and look in the mirror. We are not going to solve this healthcare crisis through any legislation. You can't do that through a piece of paper. We need to stop internalizing this issue. And it's somewhat of a culture that we've created over the last 20 years, that if I'm sick, a pill's going to fix it, okay? A good analogy is if I elected to burn down my house, okay, that I live in, would my insurance company pay for that house? Yet. And obviously the answer there is no.
Yeah, nice analogy. I like
that.
But
with our bodies, we can elect to treat our bodies and burn our bodies effectively, and people will pay for it. So we need to get out of that mindset. And I think it's an economic issue, it's a healthcare issue. That's the only way we're going to fix this problem.
Nobody likes to be preached to, I don't think, except maybe Oprah viewers. But so what you do is try to incentivize people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where to go. So to use a carrot or a stick, right, Michael
Mhm.
Patrick? So we believe that incentivizing individuals that have good behavior, and we're pretty out there with some of our newer products. So we're going to start really segregating those that take care of themselves and rewarding them, and they're going to pay a lot less for the health care than those who don't.
Kind of funny that you called it a carrot on a stick because, I mean, it could be a cupcake on a stick. Right?
That's a great analogy. That's true.
Now, with the national healthcare reform, is there no longer need for individual market reform in the state of Michigan?
No, I would say there is need for
Still.
individual market. First and foremost, healthcare reform is 4 years away, 3 years away. Some of it's being passed in phases, but our position of Blue Cross is we can't wait that long. So this is a broken situation today. It was 4 years ago, and we started campaigning for this,
Yeah.
and we can't wait that long. So we still feel that some reform is needed.
Jeff, we got 30 seconds left. Who is the head right now, and I don't mean in office, of the Republican Party nationally?
I think that's a big problem. I don't think we know. I mean, I think the sad thing in the last 2 years is nobody from a real leadership position has stepped up. I mean, the Tea Party concept, it was great, but they can't. There's 78 different chapters and 78 different egos. You know, in the absence of finding a leader, what do people do? They gravitate to anybody they can. And
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, we saw that in the last election. I don't think we had quality choices. I really don't. Nice people, nice man, but you know, Senator McCain, I don't think was really engaged with what the American people were looking for. So I think right now it's a big vacuum, and it's got its mouth open, but it's grabbing a lot of bad pieces.
Jeff Cousins, Kraft Business Systems, and Jeff Connelly, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan here in West Michigan. It's Michael Patrick Shields, brought to you this morning by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. We're back in a flash.